trying to fight back tears because these are my babies. I would say thank you to my wife and my 4 kids for wiping the tears away all week. It's been a journey. Good evening, graduating class of KNCP. Family, friends, administrators, teachers, and all stakeholders who have taken part in this special day. I'm honored to have this opportunity. When I got the call and they told me that I had been nominated, I was immediately overcome with joy, which was simultaneously shattered with terror. I thought back to some of the presentations that you guys did in my class, the first one, and I remember saying, it's okay, just relax, let it flow, it'll be fine, it's easy. And I distinctly remember Fred saying, Mr. Calvin, you only saying that because you don't have to do it. Well, guys, I was wrong. It's a little more difficult than I said it would be, but we're gonna press on. Again, thank you for this opportunity to share in this ultimate day of accomplishment for you. I was trying to think about what to talk about, and I thought about what would I want to know as an 18-year-old graduate. I wish I had known that I wouldn't be an NBA superstar. Probably would have had a different plan. I definitely wish I had known in just 4 short years, I'd be bald. I wish I had known that hot Cheeto powder, it stains white t-shirts and it don't come out. It just doesn't. I also wish I had known that Forrest Gump's mom was actually right. Life is surprisingly a lot more like a box of chocolates than you realize. You really never know what you're gonna get. I wish I realized that some friendships are as long-lasting as the memories that we share, and some become as hollow as trees. I wish I had known that struggle is inevitable, but without the struggle, success is impossible. I wish I had known that success can't happen if you don't have a plan. And the older that you get, the more you learn that life is less about how you respond to success and more about how you react to massive struggle. Finally, I wish I had known that I am who I think I'm going to be. I think the bald thing probably would have been my biggest priority. I probably would have prepared a little differently. I probably would have lifted some weights, gained 30 or 40 pounds. I definitely would have grown a beard a lot sooner. But I know I'm supposed to teach you guys something today, and so for the purposes of this opportunity, we're going to talk about you are who you think you ought to be. The true definition of freedom is the ability to exercise choice. In order to experience this, you have to know your self-worth. Most of you know that I'm a first-generation college student, but what you don't know is I entered college with a 14 on my ACT. A schedule full of remedial classes, no idea what to expect. I never seen anybody who looked like me to go or finish college or even mention anything about it. Oh, and because I didn't know that I was going to college, I was at last minute admit, so I didn't have any money. It was clear that I didn't belong. I don't even know how I got there. But I like to tell you that I got there, I worked hard, everything panned out, I got great grades, and I'm successful. But if I said that, I'd be lying to you. Freshman year, I got cut from the basketball team. Hurricane Katrina hit, so I had to go home for a couple of months. I came back, had a GPA of barely 2.0. And sophomore year, I got a break. I made the basketball team, still with no money. And did I mention that most of the year I rode the bench because I wasn't developed enough to play. Eventually I got a chance to play and I impressed the coach enough for him to give me a partial scholarship, which was immediately followed by academic probation. So the little money I did have, I was in danger of losing and going home. I realized I had to wake up, I had to stay woke, and going home wasn't the best option because I knew I wouldn't have a second opportunity. So at that point, I decided that I did belong there. I belonged in college, who were light years ahead of me academically. They would go on to become civil rights attorneys, neurosurgeons, own their own businesses. I decided that I did belong on the basketball team with guys who could have and would go on to play professional basketball, play basketball overseas, and some would go on to coach championship college teams. I learned at this time one of the greatest lessons in my life. I am who I think I ought to be. There were no limits on my life because I knew if I wanted it, I would put the work in, I would learn from my mistakes, and I would make it. I ended up earning a full basketball scholarship. I ended up graduating with an English degree and also went on to get 2 other master's degrees, one in English and one in educational leadership. I use this to springboard my success. I learned at this point that there are no walls that I can't go through. And if I find one that I can't go through, I'll stand there and I'll chip at that wall piece by piece by piece by piece until that wall admires my persistence and lets me pass. In closing, this is a time of great joy and anxiety for parents and teachers. But I can say to you, as your surrogate parent and your former teacher, I'm not worried about you. I'm proud of you.
Right.
Thank you so much for the work that you guys have done. So I want you to remember this. When you're afraid because it's your first time away from your family, you are who you think you ought to be. When you don't understand anything that the professor is saying and you really want to give up, you are who you think you ought to be. When you miss a deadline and there's no hope in making it at all, you are who you think you ought to be. When you oversleep and you have to rush to a final right before the professor locks the door on you, because it happens, you are who you think you ought to be. When your financial aid is short, you have no idea where the money's going to come from. Don't panic. You are who you think you ought to be. When life abruptly changes, like an unexpected child, unexpected death, or any unexpected circumstance, it's okay, because you are who you think you ought to be. Even if or when you have to start over and pick yourself right back up, it's fine, because you are who you think you ought to be. So if you don't remember anything else that I say from this speech, I want you to remember this. You are not defined by your circumstances or your failures,
Amen.
but by how you react to those consequences. You belong. You are greater than what you could ever imagine, and you are what you think you ought to be.